All right, so today's episode is going to be a little bit different. And yes, I'm Matt O'Leary. If you're new here, you should probably know who I am. But if you don't, I'm Matt O'Leary. You can subscribe if you're new. But today, I wanted to talk to you about something new that I'm doing and give you a little taste and see if it's something that's, well, for you. And if it is, well, I'm happy about that. And if not, don't worry, nothing's changing on this channel, so you're not necessarily missing out. I think you're missing out on a good show, but the content's going to remain the same here. This is just something extra that I'm doing that if you want to, you can tune in for. So essentially, what I decided to do was, you've heard me talk about it before, the Patreon. So I do some Jets analytics over there, and I do some player write-ups and mock draft Mondays and all kinds of things like that. But I wanted to add an exclusive show over on that platform. And essentially what the show is, I'm calling it Exit 16 West. That's an exit to get to MetLife Stadium. That's where the name comes from. But essentially what the show will be is an interview show with other Jets content creators, and we'll just talk about whatever the biggest storyline of that week is. This past week is the NFL draft. And I had John from Jets Today on in the first episode. And the reason why I wanted to bring him on was because he was someone who was being the drum for Sauce Gardner. And since, well, the Jets took Sauce at 4, I wanted him to talk about it and try to, I guess, not convince me, because I was happy with him being the pick because they ended up getting their edge and wide receiver anyway, but kind of just talk through all of that. And I'm really excited about it. I already have a couple of awesome guests lined up for future weeks, but it's going to drop on Thursdays on the Patreon. I'm going to give you a little preview of what the show is going to be like in a snippet here. So this is a freebie preview of what it's going to be like. And again, if it's something you like, subscribe. The link to subscribe will be down below in the description. And hopefully you enjoy. Here's a clip of our conversation about the NFL draft. All right. I'd like to welcome on John from Jets Today. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I really, really appreciate you having me on. I got the message while I was in the middle of teaching, so it was really cool of you to reach out to me, and happy to do it, man. It should be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to get you on because obviously the NFL draft just happened. And if anyone's on Jets Twitter, you should be following John over on Jets Today. But he was beating the drum for Sauce Gardner. And I'll admit, like, I was a little bit nervous about the idea of going corner first. And I guess maybe we start there, actually, before we get into this draft process. What made you want to say, okay, we're okay with going Sauce Gardner first at 4 and waiting on edge? What was the mindset there?
So there's a couple of things. So first, I have to give props to James Wighouse. So he's my co-host on my weekly show that I do, and he's a contributor at Jets X Factor, and he does a ton of film study on a lot of the prospects. And to be perfectly frank with you, I liked Sauce Gardner going into the whole like off season and the pre-draft process. But the more I heard James talking about him, I was like, okay, I need to do a little bit of my own investigating, a little bit of digging. And to be perfectly honest with you, I had to reconsider the whole thing because I had always been saying edge all the way. And, for the most part, I still would have been very, very happy if we had drafted Kayvon Thibodeau. That was always something that, if it was Thibodeau at 4, I would have been really, really excited. And the fact that it was Sauce was also just as exciting for me. Anyway, getting off on a tangent there. James Wighouse really sold me on him initially. And then I did my own research on it. And I just think that if you can combo the cornerback, a top cornerback to really pair up and go against some of these top elite wide receivers in the AFC, I feel like you combo that with a pass rusher. Now that we know what's happened in Jermaine Johnson, I think that those two together, along with all the other great defensive players that we have, if you can combine a great cornerback along with a really, really good pass rush, I think that's where you start to see the defense really start to make some big plays, not just be a really solid defense, but like a really special unit.
So obviously we're doing this after the fact. So we have the benefit of knowing that not only did Jermaine Johnson make it to pick 10, he made it well beyond that. Assume Sauce pick at 4, which he ends up being. Was your plan then at that point take your best edge rusher at pick 10? Did you want them to wait? What was your idea at that point?
Yeah. So before the draft, I had drafted up something on Twitter, and I had said basically, give me Sauce, give me Jermaine at 4 and 10, interchangeable. I didn't think that Sauce would be available at 10, but give me both of those players, and then go up and trade aggressively for a wide receiver. And it just so happened that they did it a little bit out of order. But I still love, the idea of, Jermaine Johnson at 10. I had no problem with that. And that was what I wanted them to do during the live draft. I had said, let's make sure we get our edge either at 10 or by trading up. And I mean, it made me look good, but I was just kind of lucky. But that's exactly what they did. And it was a really, really good move. And again, I would have been very comfortable with an edge at 10. And that's
Yeah.
the other thing that goes, sorry, not to cut you off, but it kind of goes to show you, like, if you take Sauce at 4, I always had kind of felt like this was a pretty deep edge class. Even if it wasn't Thibodeau at 4, you're still going to find somebody either via 10 or a trade up.
Gotcha. Okay, no, that totally makes sense from that perspective. And from my lens, it was never that I didn't think Sauce Gardner was a good player, not worth the 4th overall pick. He was my number one cornerback. I think he's phenomenal. My fear was that if you did go that direction, number one, how much does the cornerback play matter in Robert Saleh's system versus the edge rush? And then I was foolishly worried about Jermaine Johnson making it to pick 10, because I saw teams like maybe Atlanta, you could make a case for them going edge. Obviously they didn't. The Seahawks, that's another team who you can maybe say that they could use some help on the defensive line. The Giants ended up taking an edge rusher. So I had that fear in the back of my head that if you did go with Sauce Gardner, I don't know what the play would be, what the plan would be. And then I don't know how much you saw on day one. I know you came on later on day 3 to the stream, but me and Greenbean had similar reactions when Sauce Gardner was the pick.
I saw it. I watched it actually.
There you go. Perfect. But it's not that, and we were in the same boat. It's not that we didn't like Sauce Gardner. It was, well, damn. All right. What's the plan going to be at edge here? So that was really my only fear at that point.
I'll throw this in there. It was a more risky play. Like there was certainly a dice roll with this move. Like it could have fallen, like they could have fallen flat on their face. If Jermaine Johnson, if they weren't able to move up and somehow they missed out on him. I mean, sure, there's going to be other edge rushers that are good in this class that, that are drafted after Jermaine Johnson. But I just felt like, we heard Jermaine Johnson talk about the fit that it was, how instantly he clicked with the coaching staff. And then you heard Robert Saleh after they drafted him, how a perfect fit he is I think he said something like the wide 9 scheme where they're going to be, spreading out their defensive line. He's going to be absolutely perfect for that, that schematically. So definitely risk involved with the plan that they took. But I think that Joe Douglas has shown he's just not afraid.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely, like you said, I think it was a risky play, but I think we saw in the end, I think the risk panned out. So all good with the Sauce Gardner. Obviously, you were someone you were very high on. And while at the moment when they took him, I was very nervous for what was going to come after that, was extremely happy with the outcomes.